Zelnu, please take it away.
Hello, I am Zelnu, and welcome to East Memories of Celceta, any % no cutscene walking, forced cutscene. I forget what the TS actually stands for. It's all very much the same trick with 3 different names. I'm just gonna get started and kind of go from there, because there's a lot to explain maybe early, and I don't need to do too much talking beforehand. So, if we're ready to start, time starts when I select the difficulty. So in 3, 2, 1, and we're starting. So the first thing you're very much going to notice, cutscenes, incredibly fast. When this game was ported from the Vita to the PC, the developers, I believe the developers that did the localization, Xseed, added a cutscene fast forward. This saves so much time on the run, and is super important, and I honestly don't know how much I would be maybe running this without this, but as you can see, we're starting out with this redhead character Adol. He just sort of woke up, stumbled out into an inn, and he has lost his memories. And being the sort of good JRPG protagonist he is, he heard there were people trapped in this mine, and he just ran in to help them without a sword. And we were given a sword by this other character, Durin, who will be our first party member. And we'll kind of get more into him in a bit, but for now, we're going to do some basic combat. So you can see I'm doing sort of normal sword swings, and I learned a skill in that combat. God, there's so much to explain right at the first, 30 seconds. If you see on the left, there's the blue bars, or the blue sort of circle on the left. Around, that's my SP, and skills use SP. Doing normal attacks builds SP. The sort of rhythm to the combat here is you use skills in combo with your normal attacks to do as much damage as quickly as possible. And you'll see me switching, ooh, again, way too much in the first 30 seconds to a minute. Switching characters here to Durin, because he actually moves a little bit faster with this roll compared to Adol. And again, more explanation, we're doing our first mini skip here. Just going through that gate. When you load a memory, and this will be used a lot more, so I'll explain it a bit more. When you load a memory, your character position switches, or reloads to their default position, which is up left of where the character is. And because that gate is positioned exactly where it is, you just skip through it. So, I'll be explaining that a bit more as we do more skips with it. But, we're just finishing off the first boss, and you can see me use an extra skill here. That was a sort of yellow, it's denoted by the yellow meter, sort of top right, or bottom right, just to the right of the blue SP meter. And that's sort of like a super attack. It is built mostly when doing skills, but also doing flash guards and flash dodges, which I did some flash guards during that fight. Big part of the combat is flash guards. Mostly, we don't use flash dodges as much. When you guard perfectly, I say perfectly in maybe quotations because on easy the window is very large, you get a damage boost for a few seconds. And now we're sort of just going through the tutorial. The run will slow down a little bit here, but we saved the miners, and we've been tasked with mapping out the forest of Celceta, which this town is on the edge of. Because as Adol doesn't remember because he lost his memories. He went to explore the forest already and came back, which is really notable because nobody has ever come back from exploring the forest before. So the governor here has decided, hey, he's already gone. She doesn't know he's lost his memories. Or I think she might. I don't actually remember either. Well, I just got stuck in the train there as I went to look at something.
Zelnu, do you want to know what you can remember?
Sure, what?
You can remember hitting $4,000 for charity during your run.
Wow.
Shout outs to Zello and Ionisol, who both donated $14.72, trying to get us to that 4K mark. I think Zellu has the best comment, though. I just wanted to make sure Adel rolled us into the 4K. Thank you all so much for raising money for charity and for your kind messages. Also, CM1215, $20 donated. Happy 4K. Good luck, Zelnu. Shout outs to everyone who has made this event so wonderful. So why don't we keep rolling along here through ease.
Okay. Thank you. Again, thanks. I'm saying thanks for donations like it's for me. It's not for me. It's for charity. And while we're moving along, we're coming to the next big skip called Bridge Skip, where earlier on you might have noticed I unequipped armor from Adol and picked up an item called a Rotodroplet, which is a revive. So we're actually going to take intentional... We're going to have Adol intentionally take damage here and get knocked out in the water once we take enough damage. These enemies are not cooperating. So we're actually going to move on to where we actually want Adol to go down. And then there'll be some funny unabalanced shenanigans because of how water is on a lower plane than the land. So Adol dies in the water. The game still considers him in the water. So we switch to him, revive right now, and we fall through the ground. And now we come over here. We're gonna skip. Oh, I kind of hit the edge of the water there. That's not the best position. Okay, I'm gonna get into the right position here, and once we load a memory, it will... I'm struggling with this one. That looks good. There we go. It'll reset Durin's position, and he has gone onto the other side of the bridge, that it skipped a sort of Lost Woods area, but more importantly, the game is now in a strange state where it doesn't think we can go to this town yet because we haven't gone to the area before. And normally when you come to this town in the story, you kind of get captured because people have been disappearing. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, Adol had explored this forest before. He had gone to this town, and as soon as he left, people started disappearing. So they blame him, fairly, and throw him in jail. And you have to do a sort of stealth section to get out, and we've just skipped all that. And now we are in a memory, because the whole theme of the game is Adol regaining his memories, and we're just seeing what happened when he he's remembering what happened before he lost his memories. And sort of these characters we met, or he's met, including Karna, the village chief's daughter, who will be our next party member, and why we're coming here to collect her. Have her join our party, because we've skipped a lot, and we need a character who is high enough. I almost got stuck on the moose. There's just a deer there that is normally in the way. We've skipped a lot of combat, and characters are unequipped and underleveled, and we need Karna to do some more damage, and we also need her per skill to get into the next dungeon. So as we're rolling along again, moving to the next dungeon, we're gonna pick up. Making a lot of weird movements, getting stuck on things. Not really much else. We are now investigating why people are going missing. So we're coming up on the next dungeon. If there's anything, Gabby, you would like to add, there's a little bit of time. Anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, I got a little bit of time. I have a little bit of donations. Shout out to Ionasol for the back-to-back donations. $4,044.04. 404 not found squared. Again, thank you so much for your earlier $14.72 donation as well. I love the unrounded numbers. Very nice. And just for all of you tuning in, we have extended our goal to $4,500. I know that's a bit of a stretch with only this run and one other run remaining, but I think we can do it. I think we just got to keep rolling along and get that momentum going.
Okay, and just coming up here, there's very quick combat against these masked characters who are the missing villagers. Somebody or something has been, I guess, giving them masks, forcing masks on them that is kind of mind controlling them, and so now they're attacking us. So we just knock them out, and they're fine. They're just laying there. We've removed the mask. And they are no longer, I need Karna here, being mind controlled, but some more villagers are still missing, so we're going deeper into, I forget what this place is actually called at this point, but it's full of spiders and wasps and slugs. It is a insect-themed dungeon, so I do want to bring up especially if you have arachnophobia, maybe we're not going to see too much, but we are going to see a giant bee briefly. But we're coming in here as far as the speedrun goes because we need the mid dungeon item. A lot of the dungeons in this game kind of work like you would think Zelda, where you get an item halfway through and then you use that to finish. I got really lucky that that bee did not come too close to stop me from being able to throw that. Because you can't use these abilities when enemies are too close, and so we're coming here because we want to get the mid-dungeon item. We don't actually need to finish this dungeon as far as the speedrun goes, because once we get this, we'll maybe go more off the script, because so far we've done the first dungeon, we're in the second. We're not going to see the third at all. Fourth will be done mostly correctly. So we're coming up to our good friend the bee. There's that property I was mentioning where characters are, when you load a memory cutscene from the menu, you go, it resets the position of the characters. I do need this work. And we're going to use that to skip this boss. So we're resetting the position and switching characters and resetting the position, loading the memory. And every time we do this, we're moving slightly up and to the left. And as you can see, it's trying to load the mid-boss cutscene, but we're still in the menu, so it doesn't start the fight. And then we just continue, go through, and there we go. We skipped the boss, we got the mid-dungeon item, and that is all we're here for. We will be seeing that be a bit later for another trick, but for now, it's going to use Dwarf Bracelet, which lets you shrink and go into small holes. And now we can just leave. We don't need to save the rest of the villagers. That's not part of the run. It'll be resolved when we finish the game. I'm sure it'll be fine. But But now, as we are just leaving, we are going to do a little bit more of that skipping to get past a, getting a little bit ahead of where I may want to go. I always get stuck behind that warp spot. And I guess I didn't mention that. Those sort of pillars are checkpoints that we can use as warps. Currently, we can only warp between them and only ones of the same color. So if you're wondering why we ran past some that we're not warping to, because the ones up here are actually blue and the ones down by that dungeon are green. So we can't use anywhere yet, but same thing here. We are going to be just skipping through this cutscene, or because we've started the second dungeon, the game is going to stop us from going to the third because it's like, hey, this isn't the way to that dungeon you started. Make sure you do that first. But we don't really want to do it, so we're just gonna go here, and this whole area is just a simple Lost Woods sort of. I wouldn't say it's a dungeon, it's just a puzzle. This one is you just always go downhill. If you don't go downhill, it puts you back to the start. And we are now going to skip this camp. So these sort of camps, and whenever we load, that's not a good position. Try that again. There we go. Whenever we sort of sit at a camp or view a memory when we're supposed to, that's how the game flags where we are in the story. So by skipping this one specifically, I'm gonna be a little careful because this is a marathon run. There we go. Just do one extra time to make sure we're through. By skipping that, the game doesn't think we are supposed to be here and won't start the story sequence once we get past here. So we're coming up on Celceta Village, where we are supposed to get captured because things started going wrong here as well. As soon as Adol left, there's a village by Celceta Village. Game doesn't take us there. We don't need to do it. There is another party member there, not in the run. You will see him during some cutscenes. Ozma, he is the yellow-skinned character, or yellow-clothed character. Here we're going to do the same trick where we die in the water. We want his dwarf bracelet because that actually helps you take more damage. And now we are in the water, and if we load a memory, it pushes us just under the water enough that we get under that invisible wall, and we are into the fourth dungeon. Normally, this only opens after you've done second and third, which actually can be done in any order. And again, more sort of shenanigans, because the third dungeon, you are supposed to get an ability to go underwater. That is the ability you get there. But if you do funny stuff with the physics, like jumping there, or using the dwarf bracelet and the memory to load, it pushes you to the default position and you fall into the water, pushing you just low enough.
That seems like the game treats you very nicely. What's also very nice, if that's okay for me to interrupt.
Go on.
We have $4,069.69 raised for charity, all thanks to CJ. It's all good. Who just says nice.
Nice. So as we're going through this dungeon, this is where we need the dwarf bracelet. We'll be using it one more time as progression, but that was it. We needed it for those 2 hallways, and now we're gonna do another boss skip using the same. That was a good position. Same trick there. And you might see this weird robot centaur. Don't worry, we're not gonna be fighting. Not an interesting fight. And we're through. Switch to Durin, so we move faster. And just a little bit more movement, and then we will be on to the next trick. But as we're coming up, if you have anything else, if not, I can kind of go over the story.
I do have one donation from Laz Lotus. Somebody had to break the nice number. I'm sorry it had to be me. Also, here's to hot dogs. Which sandwiches are? So Laz Lotus, thank you for weighing in on the big questions and for your $10 donation.
Okay, so coming up here on Highwind, I believe is the name of the town. Normally, the previous 2 towns, when Adol goes to them, he gets captured and thrown in jail because he visited and things went wrong. Here, people start freaking out because they think he's dead and have already buried. There was already a grave marked for him, and they freak out and think he's a ghost because they handed him the MacGuffin of the game, the Mask of the Sun, and they found it, and they think the only reason he would have left it is if he died. That gets cleared up a lot simpler than the other mistakes. And as we're coming up here, there is a little bit of a flashing light warning with the lightning here. Sorry, I kind of did that a bit late, but we're going to get our 3rd party member, the 4th, Kuloka, who comes at a much higher level. And our next skip. So this lightning, we're supposed to use Kuloka's ability to activate these lightning rods to not get hit by the lightning. But there's this cutscene after each one, so we don't want to do every one. Thankfully, the lightning hits on a cycle, and if you're in the menu or in a loading zone, it doesn't hit you. So we can... I need the audio cue. 2, 3. Just bring up the menu. Yeah, I did one extra roll there. Bring up the menu, and you don't get it. It is fairly precise timing, and thankfully, if you don't... it's not... I wouldn't say it's precise timing, I guess. It's just very punishing when you make a mistake, as you can see. As long as the menu's open, you don't get hit, and thankfully, I wouldn't say there's a lot of leeway, but you don't need to... I am having trouble with this. I'm actually going to go silent while I focus on this, if that is good. Okay. Explaining this trick while doing it, maybe a bit harder than I anticipated.
You got this. I believe in you.
Okay, and now that we're at the tower, this is sort of a checkpoint for this skip. Okay, now we're through.
Yeah! Good job!
It's little harder to talk and do rhythm than I was maybe expecting. That is a little tricky. That is actually a big reset point for runs or PB attempts. Unsurprisingly, maybe because of how punishing each getting hit by lightning is. But that tower we just went past is, I've actually completely lost track. I think it's the 5th dungeon? We don't need it. We just skip past now the 5th dungeon, and we're heading over to the next town. There was something I was gonna bring up as we were going there, and I don't remember what it was now. Oh, because we got past that dungeon, or that lightning area without doing the dungeon, the game is in a weird state where if at any point we die, it's going to act like we got hit by lightning. So if at any point we lose to a boss, it's gonna act like we got hit by lightning and warp us back to there. We are going to use that intentionally on not the next boss, but the boss after that, because we actually do want to do something in Highland later, but only after the game thinks we're supposed to. So, coming up here, we're gonna get our last party member, Frida, and do a boss, who is by far the best party member for the run, both because she starts at the highest level and we are very underleveled, and because she has a damage buff skill, which she just does a ton of damage and buffs the party. And something really weird with that skill, that's the right one, you can block it. You can block your own skill. So we're gonna flash guard our own damage buff to get another damage buff on top of that. Use our extra skill. And now we want to hit this thing in the legs. We want to try to line up both hits. I'm not quite getting it. There we go. And that was a pretty good fight. Story-wise, that's the Mask of the Sun that was just taken. That was the MacGuffin that we were explicitly told never to let into anyone else's hands. And it was under a protected barrier, and the boss we just defeated broke the barrier, and someone stole it. So now we're gonna go try to get that back. And that's all we needed to do in this town. There are shops and side quests, but we don't need to do that for now. We are going to move on to the next boss and story event. And one more thing about the combat that was, and why Frida is so good is, I didn't bring it up during the tutorial for it, but every character has a damage type. There are 3 different damage types, 2 characters per type. In your party, if you have 3, and you can see at the bottom left where the character portraits are. If you have 3 different damage types, you have a increased drop rate, I think. I forget if it's chance for rare items or more drops in and of themselves. If you have 2 characters of the same type and one of a different type, you get a 10% damage boost. So Frida and Adol have the same damage type. They are both the highest damage dealing characters anyway, along with Frida joining at a higher level. So it just all works out. You get a lot of damage using the two best damage characters. And I think it's 10%. I'm not actually 100%. I think I can actually see that in the menu. As we're moving through the swamp, you might actually notice that the swamp water is weird in that you move faster in it. Just the way the dodging works, you can actually dodge faster with that roll than you can with the step than the roll. So we just activated this camp to activate the story. Now the game thinks we are at this point in the story. And we wanted that warp, and now we're going to head up to the next boss. But we are not going to fight it quite yet, or not going to beat it quite yet, because the way boss flags work in this game is a little interesting, in that when you're in a boss, a flag is set, and when you lose or quit, or win, the flag is removed. But if you leave in a way the game doesn't expect, I want Frida here, that flag never gets removed. And if you enter a area with a story fight, I'm gonna say, when that flag is still set, it starts the fight, whether or not that's supposed to happen. So we're just gonna do this quick puzzle. By intentionally losing here and having that flag set, we will be able to activate a fight we're not supposed to do. I'm just doing a little bit of inventory management to lose this fight a little quicker. Say hello to the frog. He is not our friend like the bee. I don't know why I say the bee is my friend when it is probably the hardest trick in the game, but... And now we're back here! And that flag has been set, and the game thinks we are still in the boss fight, so when we come back down here and go back to Highland, the fight that's supposed to happen after that tower dungeon will start. And this fight is incredibly easy on this category because you're supposed to do this after dungeon before you get Frida. So she is so overleveled, and she's not supposed to be in this cutscene, so she's just kind of standing there. And all of that, once I skip this cutscene, we get the gold wing, which allows us to warp to any warp spot we want to. So now we go back and we fight the frog properly. The frog itself is a little bit of an annoying fight because it has an attack where it can eat a character and it actually puts them out of commission for a bit, which can lose some time, but is otherwise not a huge difficult fight because thankfully the spin attack with Frida often knocks it down as long as it's not in another animation. And I'm just using flashcards on my own damage buff to get some more damage. I'm trying to knock the frog down, because the more the frog is on the ground, the less annoying things it can do and slow the fight down, but the ads themselves seem to be causing problems instead, but that's fine. This should finish it off. And now, sadly, we are no longer going to be rolling. It is good as far as the speedrun goes, because this actually makes you move faster, but we just got the accessory Beast King Claws, which replaces your roll with a shoulder tackle, which will allow us to break one thing of, well, no, this whole coral area. So, just a bit more movement. I kind of mentioned at the start that Durin was the fastest roller. We switched to Frida just briefly because it's faster to do the little bit of movement without Durin. Well, she's in the party because she is the second fastest. And now, with the Beastkin Claw and the shoulder check, Adol is the fastest. I don't know why specifically certain characters are faster. It seems to be tied to animation and size, but that's sort of what it is. But welcome to Mistrum, I think is this boss name. There's no story for this boss. It exists in this dungeon or this area. It's never talked about, it's never explained. It's just this weird thing in this forest. But we're actually not going to be finishing this fight because there's a really cool trick we're going to be doing instead. This game doesn't... it gave me the right attack, but I wasn't in position. This game doesn't have a jump button, you might notice, but it doesn't stop you from going over walls. Because if you flash guard certain attacks, and there we go, it launches you straight up into the air. And now, skip that boss, and also, that both skipped the boss, without doing the memory thing we were doing before, and got us out of a boss fight in a way that the game doesn't predict us to, so we are in a boss state right now. The game, like when we lost to the frog, thinks we are in a boss fight, which means when we get to the next dungeon boss, it will happen instead of just being an empty room. So a little bit more movement. We're going to be doing that same trick to get a bunch of air to skip into the next dungeon, which I don't know exactly how much. This is very late. This is a very late game dungeon where you're supposed to normally during the story, the Mask of the Sun was stolen, and the villains go into a door that only opens with the Mask of the Sun. You are told there's another mask, the Mask of the Moon, that can be repaired to open it. Normally you have to do one dungeon, or you have to do 2 dungeons, each which give you half of the Mask of the Moon. Then come here, and at the end of this dungeon it gets repaired. And this dungeon, casually, is probably the least, I don't want to say least interesting, but the most, I'm going to say most annoying. It's an escort quest. You have a NPC called Lisa, who was the NPC controlling the big mech earlier. And if you get too far away from her, she stops moving. And you have to kill every enemy on the way. Much quicker not doing the escort quest. Thankfully, though, because of the weirdness of not having her here, we are going to see her a little bit later, where she will be helpful, because doing things out of order causes a lot of strangeness in this game, but not in a bad way. I should equip that sword that I picked up. Would have been bad to not have that. I normally do it as soon as I pick it up. And one more time, we're going to use the dwarf bracelet.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Yep.
Awesome. We have $10 from Blue Did It. Nice to see the absolute goat of Ease speedrunners, Zelnu, here to support both a great streamer and a great cause. Blue Did It, thank you so much for your donation.
Damn, yeah. Thanks? Yeah. Sorry, I'm fumbling words now. I think if there's anything more until we get to the boss, I think we're good. This is just movements. Maybe one more?
All right. We have $23.45 from Lilac, who is one of the previous runners from this evening. Hope everybody had a great evening. Can you all give me your best Froggy impression? Are you up for it, Zelnu?
Froggy.
All right, I want to see y'all doing it in chat as well. Lilac, thank you so much for participating in the marathon and for your generous donation.
Okay, so here we are on Soul 2. It is a harder version of that big robot we fought. Instead of its health bar being tied to its legs, its health bar is tied to its head. And each limb, and this is just trying to sneak in that last hit, each limb has a separate health bar, and then it will go down, and we start doing damage on the head. If everything goes right here, this would be a 2-cycle. And as you can see, I'm activating Frida's extra skill and then switching to Adol to get the most damage, because at this point with that sword equipped, Adol has higher damage, using Frida herself to hit the legs, because the way her triangle ability, Cactus Drive, works, I can hit both and a little bit more damage if I get it. This is an awkward kind of position, and I'm actually going to flash guard this skill a bunch. That's maybe more than I need to try to build meter, so I can use her extra skill one extra time. I'm not getting enough. Come on, there we go. And this should be a 2-cycle. And with that, yep, Soul 2 is dead. So now we are ready, as far as the game is concerned, to go into the final dungeon. But, because we have the Mask of the Moon, we can open the door to the final dungeon. But, the final dungeon has something very funny. It has a fight after you finish the dungeon that happens in the first room. So, if we come to the bee, our good friend, and exit the fight using the same trick. Did I get that? No. This one is a little bit harder than those door ones I was doing, and the one on Mistrum. But if we do that, if it cooperates, if the bee wants to cooperate, thank you. Nope. This is a lot of mashing. I'm sorry if this is getting picked up by the mic, actually, because I just kind of realized where my hands are. I have this mapped, the guard button, to square and 2 keys on my keyboard to get enough height. And I am not... If this goes on for too long, I will go do the backup on Mistrum, where I just do that fight again. But for now, this was causing me trouble in practice too, and I'm a little worried.
You got this. The bees are friends,
there
right?
We go.
Yeah, there we go.
Nope. I was not in the right position or didn't get over. For context, when I first started running this game, and why I call it my friend sort of as a joke, when I was first learning this game, and this was first... Why am I not getting over that wall? That should have been enough height. Before certain things were found, we had to do this trick 4 times with the bee.
4
and
times?
Then things...
With the same
Yes.
boss?
Yep, because just going in to get the dwarf bracelet and leaving and 2 boss things. If this doesn't work, I'm not in a good position. Yeah, I'm actually going to go over to the other loading zone. I don't like the position he's in. Doesn't actually matter which loading zone I leave from, as long as I get it. Don't know why this... I mean, I know why this is being an issue, because this is actually a hard trick. I'm going to try a few more times, and if not, I'm going to go to Mistral. Because that will at least work.
Let's see some bees in chat.
This is not...
For our friend, the bee. You got this, Zelnu, I believe. Believe, even.
Okay. And this is why I have the 50-minute estimate. I don't understand why that was not enough height. I've said that like 3 times now, but it looks like it should be enough height to get over the invisible wall. And I'm just not quite getting there. Thankfully, there's no risk during this fight because this is so early, but...
Is the bee then like one of the first consistent bosses that you can use to execute this trick?
Yes. It is one of the first bosses that has an attack that launches you. And because there's warp right there. Yeah, I'm gonna give this like 1 or 2 more goes, and then I will load a save and go to Istrum. I don't know. Yeah, that's... I'm going to just... I am sorry, but... Yeah, so, back up.
You got it your first try. Great job. Great job.
Why... have the... I'm sorry. I didn't. My backup doesn't actually have the warp here, so I'm gonna do a little bit more movement. If you want, is there anything you want to bring up while I'm just sort of repeating this?
Yeah. So just as a reminder for everybody just tuning in, we have currently raised $4,118.14 out of our $4,500 goal for Gate. So please make sure to get those donations in if you want to send your energy to the bees. Because let's be real, the bee was not a friend, and we need to convince the bee to be a friend, and that's how we can do that. But thank you all so much for your donations so far. I'm having a great time. How about you, Zelnu?
Oh, I'm having a good time. It's frustrating when, you know, there's a trick that doesn't go well, but thankfully, there's safety, there's backup, so.
Yeah, and we get to hang out with this guy again. So that's cool.
Yep. I know it's a trope, I guess, but it's just a giant space flea out of nowhere because it's just here. Like the giant bee in a dungeon full of bugs that's in a hive makes sense. I forget what the actual... I think the actual dungeon boss is a snail, but...
Do you think a snail thinks a hot dog is a sandwich, though?
That is a good question.
Yeah, I don't know if you can ask this boss, as it looks like it's currently rampaging, and doing a fantastic job of it, too. But if you have a moment to sneak the question in, or if you want to weigh in at home with your donations, please let us know. Asking the big questions here.
Okay, so with that, Safety save loaded, and everything there. We are in the final dungeon, fighting these, I call them ghosts. I don't know what they're supposed to be. And there we go. We've cleared the final dungeon. And now there's things going bad because I don't remember exactly what causes it, but the sort of villain has sort of like absorbed power. And what just happened there? Okay. I just got completely stopped on that enemy. And we destroyed the thing sort of powering him, but now there's like shadows of him. And so we're gonna pull a Lord of the Rings. The Mask of the Sun is sort of what's still powering everything, the MacGuffin, so we're going to the top of this volcano to throw it in and destroy it. But one last fight. And as I was mentioning, here's Lisa. She's not supposed to be here. She's supposed to be in the escort mission earlier, but because she's here, she's healing us constantly. So there is almost no risk. Actually, there's no risk on this on easy. I don't think you can lose. But this is really just meant to be like a cool one-on-one fight after the real final boss. It's not really meant to be. I didn't get behind him. It's not meant to be too difficult, but it's like a cool one-on-one fight with Adol and the villain with very similar skill sets. As you just saw, he just flash guarded me. And not too much to say. I'm just doing combat. What can go wrong here, and it's not happening, is sometimes because Lisa's here, he aggro's on her, which makes it very difficult to start targeting him, and I get the blocks. But anyway, the final boss is done, and we have one more thing to do, and then it'll be time. I'll call it out. So, we throw the mask into the volcano, and we are declared an adventurer in time. I'm sorry, that was a little quick. Little anticlimactic ending there with just boom, it's done. But
Great. Well, thank you so much, Selnu. Do you have any shout outs or anything you want to give?
I guess I'll just do the standard shout out to this community in general. Just really good community, very helpful for learning tricks, all that. There's a Discord. It's just for all these games. Great series. Basically every game in the series is an interesting run because they are all similarly been destroyed. And I guess the only other thing is you can find me at twitch.tv/Zelnu, or I guess Twitter while it's still around. But I don't really have anything else to say, so if you want to set up for the next run, thanks for having me. That was fun, despite the bee.
Despite the bee, you have persevered, and thank you so much, Selnu. That was an awesome run. And thank you all for tuning in. Again, you are currently